Get the cream, precious metals or the crypto things. Your bars are light like the one that's on a Smith machine, but my Maxwell and I ain't.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. Today, we're going to be talking about the Yokozuna biography from WWE Biographies A&E. This is essentially a repurposed Yokozuna biography that was on Peacock. This is WWE Icons Yokozuna. It's essentially the same thing. Not much different in the story that's told. It's just shorter. If I remember correctly, they cut out some pieces, but it's mostly the same thing. Yokozuna is a very interesting story. You know, it's one that hasn't been told a lot, but it has been told before and it has been told recently. So WWE basically just chopping up and reselling A&E their old biographies that they've already done for the network, which is, you know, it's something all right. So in doing a review for this, instead of going step by step, you could just watch the video I did on WWE biography or Icons Yokozuna if you want to know the actual story. This I want to talk about specifically one thing that they changed in the biography that made it very strange. They told the story of Yokozuna wrestling Hulk Hogan. Now, here's the thing. Yokozuna won the WWF Championship April the 4th, 1993. I know that because it was my birthday. He beat Bret Hart. Then he lost the title immediately to Hulk Hogan. Now, let the biography tell it. He wrestled Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 9 and lost, but won the WWF Championship at King of the Ring 93, defeating Hulk Hogan. Now, that doesn't make sense. Now, it's a clever editing piece. It's a lie by omission because they did not mention that Yokozuna won the title from Bret Hart when he wrestled him at WrestleMania 9. They pretended that he won the title at King of the Ring 93. Now, I get why they did that, because it was a controversial decision to put the belt on Hulk Hogan at that time. And even today, many people, if you talk to them about it, they hate it. Some people even think it derailed Yokozuna as a character for him to lose immediately to Hulk Hogan. And I will agree with you in that. Yokozuna was built up as being, you know, this absolute monster. For those of you who are not old enough to have actually lived through the Yokozuna era, let me tell you something. Yokozuna I wasn't a big Yokozuna fan as a kid, but looking back on it as an adult, I can tell you I appreciate him a lot more for being the guy that separated the past from the present. Now, Bret Hart was kind of supposed to be that guy, you know. The new generation era, as it was looking for an identity, they were looking for a top guy and a monster heel. If you watch the biography and listen to what Bret Hart is saying and what Bruce Pritchard is saying, you get that they needed to have an Andre the Giant for that generation. And Yokozuna was supposed to be that guy. Now, the booking of Yokozuna did not fit that, considering there were some things that happened, which we could discuss in a minute. But Yoko was an attraction. He had a very unique look. He went from being generic Samoan number 7. He literally had like 7 Samoans on the roster, to being, you know, this massive sumo wrestler. And then they added the foreign gimmick on top of it, which they dropped a little bit later. He went from being Japanese to being Samoan a little bit later. But they added that character, the foreign heel element to it. But when you watch like some moments, the moment that I'm thinking of, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, when Yokozuna crushed Hacksaw Jim Duggan. If you just pay attention to how they talk about stories in the past, for instance, if you let somebody tell the story of Michael P.S. Hayes blinding the Junkyard Dog, right? They'll talk about how it led to this huge main event at the Superdome, how it drew all of these people and all this kind of stuff. Part of the build-up to WrestleMania 9 was Yokozuna crushing Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Hacksaw Jim Duggan was super over in the 80s and in the early 90s. Everybody loved Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And then Yokozuna just crushed him. It was silent. People were sad that Hacksaw Jim Duggan got crushed. All right. The things they did with Yoko, they didn't go far enough because he did wrestle Randy Savage, and while Randy Savage never beat him, he never just crushed Randy Savage. You know, he took that loss to Hulk Hogan that he didn't need to take, you know, and probably would have gotten more heat if he'd have crushed Hulk Hogan. You know, these kinds of things were missteps when it comes to the Yokozuna and the character and his presentation, and probably set the new generation back. But he was the guy that was pushing it forward, because a lot of the guys who still remained from the 80s, with the exception of, I think, Mr. Perfect and Ted DiBiase, a lot of them were baby faces. You know, Savage was still there. Hogan was still there. Undertaker was there. Yoko beat all of those guys. You know, he beat Bret Hart. He beat all of them. And he still managed to go under the radar because his run was only like 3 years. By 1997, Yokozuna was done. He had gained a lot of weight. This guy went 3 years without talking. I think Yokozuna cut his very first promo in like February of 96. He debuted in 1992. You know, like he debuted in like October of 92. He did not speak a word other than bonsai for 3.5 years or something like that, and was like a huge star on the roster. But to me, Yokozuna is probably the most underrated WWE champion of all time. You know, no, his matches are not 5-star classics, because you have to understand the structure of a Yokozuna match. Yokozuna matches are structured a lot like an Andre the Giant match would be. It is something designed to get the crowd off their feet if Yokozuna goes down to his knee. That's it. You're not going to slam him. You're not going to punch him and knock him down. He sells and staggers, which is, I think, Undertaker used to do that. And that's probably where he learned it. Where if you watch a Yoko match, you would get him off balance and he would stagger a little bit. And then the crowd would be like, ooh, he's going to fall, he's going to fall. But he would never actually fall. You know, he would catch himself and then he'd cut you off. Great psychology for that character, especially during that time. He started taking bumps a lot more, of course, after his Invincible era was over. You know, he was a champion and everything. Then over time, he started taking more bumps and actually kind of killed the character. But when that build up, it was rare to see Yokozuna go to the ground. You know, there was matches where Yoko didn't take a bump at all. You know, there's one match with Randy Savage where I think the closest thing to going down he did was he got hit with a top rope axe handle and he went down to his knee. That was it. And the crowd was just like, yeah! He went down to his knee. You know? So the psychology of a Yokozuna match is very special. It's very different. It wasn't meant to be a work rate thing. It was meant to be an attraction. And I think that's the perfect way to put it. And I appreciate that attraction more now than I did when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, I hated Yokozuna. You know, I was a Randy Savage fan. I was a Shawn Michaels guy. I was a Bret Hart guy. Undertaker is my favorite wrestler, and Yoko killed the Undertaker. Literally, him and 10 guys buried the Undertaker, put Undertaker in a casket. You know, that sucked. But I always appreciated Yokozuna more than some of the other big guys that they talked about. You know, he definitely deserves to be in the conversation as one of the top big guys in the business. And it's a shame that it was only 3 or 4 years. And most people, especially if you're an Attitude Era guy, you're not going to give Yokozuna any credit. Because what do you remember of Yokozuna? Nothing. If you were born in 2000, he died in 2000. You know, so you have to be damn near in your 30s or maybe in your mid-30s to have really even seen Yokozuna in action at the time. And then it's during the New Generation era, like right at the beginning and then right at the end. There was nothing afterwards. So it was very unfortunate. But I just think about the potential of what he could do with Vader. Like, there was a fight scene between him and Vader. It literally looked like two bears pawing at each other. As a kid, I'm a big meaty man slapping meat kind of guy. You know that if you follow this channel. So even if it's two fat guys, I'm just looking at it like Yoko and Vader are about to fight. Hell yeah, I'm on it. I wanted that so badly for WrestleMania 12. Then they turned it into a 6-man tag, and it was what it was, you know. But I really was looking forward to Vader and Yokozuna. But Yokozuna is very underrated, you know, very underrated. I don't like how they put things together in his biography. And I don't like having relived a lot of the stuff recently with Yokozuna. I didn't like the Lex Luger decision. I think he should have just plainly lost and then maybe regained the belt some other way. I didn't like that he was trapped in that three-way thing with Luger and Bret Hart at WrestleMania 10. It just, his run was not strong, you know, and it didn't match what they were trying to do with the character. If the idea was for Yoko to be, he wasn't going to be the standard bearer for the new generation because he couldn't. He's a heel. If he was going to be sort of an unbeatable monster, which is what they kind of showed us that they wanted him to be, then he shouldn't have lost to Hogan at WrestleMania 9. Him being body slammed by Lex Luger sent Lex Luger to the next stratosphere. I don't know why people say Lex Luger wasn't over. It's like, if you must not have been listening to those audiences. Now maybe he wasn't selling tickets, but he was certainly over when his music played and he came out there. He was certainly over, but he may not have been moving them units. Unfortunately, that's the story of Yokozuna. You know, he main evented WrestleMania 9, lost to Hogan. Main evented WrestleMania 10, lost to Bret Hart through the magic of he fell backwards off the top rope. Nobody ever explained how he managed to. The guy gets on the second rope all the time. He managed to get on the second rope at WrestleMania 10. He fell over. That's ridiculous. But, I mean, it is what it is. Yokozuna is a very fun character. You know, for people who like to dig into Peacock, go back and watch some Yokozuna. And just watch how he works. He is faster than he looks. You know, he works big, but his matches are really, really fun to watch. You know, he had a little thing with Hacksaw Jim Duggan where it was, can Hacksaw Jim Duggan knock him over? So Hacksaw Jim Duggan would do like the 3-point stance. He'd run into him with like a clothesline or something. See if he can knock Yokozuna over. And that would send the crowd into an absolute frenzy. Just Hacksaw Jim Duggan trying to knock Yokozuna over with a clothesline. You know, like that tells you right there how well they put that thing together. The character, the visual, the psychology. When you do things right, you don't need to be able to do a 630 in order to get over. You know, it's literally that simple. And it's the simplicity of it that I really enjoyed. But the biography was pretty simple. It's basically WWE icons, you know, chopped up. So if you liked icons, you probably like this. But what do you guys think of the biography? Did you watch it? Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.